Let's talk a little Texas high school football coaching changes. And it's May, and this is normally not what we're talking about.
No.
But I would say...
It's been a few. It's been a busy offseason.
This is perhaps the splashiest month of coaching changes that we've seen in quite some time. I can't recall a span, especially this late in the offseason, where there were this many high profile and quite frankly a little sus coaching changes. Like they feel like there's something going on around them. We always have like retirements and stuff like that. Yeah. These are not retirements. That's what I think is so remarkable here. So I think we probably have to start with the biggest one that I think got the biggest jolt from everybody. Let's talk about Gunter.
Yeah.
The Gunter Tigers, the 3-time defending 3A Division II state champs. The 3-time defending 3A Division II state champs. It's worth mentioning that.
Yeah.
They've won 5 titles since 2016 under Coach Jake Fizzell. Jake Fizzell is no longer the head coach there. He stepped down or announced that he was stepping down at the end of the school year. Since then, they have gone and promoted their offensive coordinator, Jordan Gill.
Correct, yes.
To be their head coach. I know we talked a little bit about how that feels like the right move.
Yes.
I want to be very clear about this, that in the way that we report things and the way that and the principles that we hold here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, that there are certain things that are reportable that are known knowns, and that's what we can tell you. But there are other things that I know are in the ether that are being talked about on the internet that we're not going to comment on. That's not our place, and that's not how journalism works, quite frankly.
No. If we're not going to. Yeah, I mean, and if we got confirmation of something like we would report on it. We don't have any confirmation.
We don't have any confirmation on
report on rumors and slander somebody or say something bad about somebody.
That's not how we roll. Can you walk us through the timeline here on this? Because
you were involved too.
You called me and said, buddy, do I have a story for you?
So I guess it was about a week and a half before the news dropped. I got a text message from a really good source.
When you called me, you described this person as someone who doesn't miss. Like you said, very reliable.
Yes, reliable source. And he said, hey, I'm hearing there's about to be a coaching change in Gunter. He texted me this while I was at my president business job. And I texted him back in all caps, like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
On the list of jobs where you don't think there's going to be...
Was not expecting that.
Gunter is on that list.
I was not expecting that. And so I called him and kind of got some more details. I said, okay, I'm going to look into it. So I called you. I said, hey, this is what I'm hearing. And you obviously had not heard anything about it. And so I was like, okay. Well, literally 5 minutes after that, while I was on the phone with another coach talking about 7-on-7 related topics, another coach, this is a coach who called me and I didn't answer because I was on the phone with another coach, and he texted me back all caps, call me ASAP. I was like, oh,
things are cooking.
Yeah. And so I called him and he goes, dude, you're not going to believe this. He goes, I'm hearing Gunter. Oh, no, he said, dude, you're not going to believe this. I just got an email about a really big head coaching job is about to open. And I said, Gunter? And he goes, how did you know? Oh, my God. Like, he's freaking out. How did you know? And I'm like, I got good sources. So that told me, okay, there's something up here. There's some smoke here. Yeah. We got something cooking.
Those are two independent people. Those two people are not connected.
Correct.
That thing, because what would happen in that meantime is I'm trying to run down some sources and coming up empty, and then you basically call me back and be like, you can quit running down sources. I got it.
This is something. Yeah, there's something. So then then you start kind of working other sources and other angles, and you start hearing some things are happening. Obviously I collaborated. No secret that I collaborated a little bit with our friend Jason De La Rosa from the Sherman Herald Democrat, who's a local reporter who covers Gunter. We were hearing a lot of the same things by that point, and so then it was just a matter of just waiting for it. By then there was enough smoke where you thought there was something there, and then eventually Coach Fizzell texted myself and Jason and let us know that he'd be stepping down, and that's kind of how it worked. But there was enough smoke there where we kind of already had a story ready to go. We had started to hear some things, and felt strongly enough that there was enough there that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when, not if. And that's kind of how we in our private Slack chats, we kind of said, okay, this is happening. we need to be ready to go when it happens.
He told us, he told you, in you know, that it was a personal matter. And we're just leaving it at that.
Yep.
That's not our place to pry.
Yeah.
And so they move on, and I think we'd kind of talked immediately. Like, I would say this, like, at this point, anytime there's a coaching change in late April or May, my thought is always
9 times out of 10
you're going to promote from within.
Yeah. Especially when you've had the success Gunner's had.
Absolutely.
It doesn't make sense to go out. I mean, granted, if Gunter would have posted their job, they would have gotten applicants out the wazoo.
They would have gotten applicants nationally.
Yes. But this late, and with the success they've had, it just doesn't make any sense to not reward the success that they've had. And they promote Jordan Gill, the offensive coordinator. I believe recently before that had recently been promoted like assistant AD.
Yeah.
So he'd just gotten a promotion. He's got double promotion off season for Jordan Gill. So buy your wife a nice dinner, coach.
I was going to say, let me ask you a question about something. Here's a spoiler alert for the 2025 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Gunter will start the year in the top 5. Here's a spoiler alert. The
going out on that limb there.
Still by the magazine. Anyway, my question for you. Does this coaching change, or how much does this coaching change impact your thoughts on Gunter heading into 2025?
In my opinion, and this is not what's going to be in the magazine, I have my own thoughts. I do think you should leave Gunter number 1.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think Gunter's still the number 1 team. They are 3. You give them the respect, 3-time state champs, 5 state championships recently. All that, but I definitely have the concerns. I already had concerns about Gunter going into the year. You know, they were a little bit young, lost a lot, replacing a lot of key pieces, but they tend to reload, not rebuild, obviously. But what I think is going to be interesting is Fizzell is really a really good defensive coach, and a lot of the Gunter defensive success, I think you can attribute to Coach Fizzell. I don't know if he actually was still calling the defense, but I know his hands were all over that defense. So that's Coach Gill. The offense is going to do what the offense does, but Coach Fizzell is a defensive guy. So I'm going to be very interested to see how Gunter's defense looks post Jake Fizzell.
So there's one coaching change that kind of was rather shocking. Okay, let's talk about another. Okay, and you got to follow me on this, but this all starts because of what happened at Edna. We talked about that show here, or that job here. Yeah. Jimmy Mitchell, non-renewed at Edna. After 3 straight state semifinal appearances.
14-1 last year. Pretty good.
Non-renewed, sees the writing on the wall and says, peace out, I'm out. Right? They go and pretty quickly snatch up Jamie Dixon from Blanco.
Correct.
Real good hire. We talked about that on the show.
I think Edna was open less than 2 weeks.
Yeah. Heck of a hire there to go and hire Jamie Dixon. That leaves Blanco open. And Blanco makes a very splash hire. They go out and hire Kent Walker, the head coach at Liberty Hill.
5A Liberty Hill.
Going to a 3A Blanco.
Correct, yes.
This is a guy who, if you remember, he took over for his late brother Jeff in the middle of the 2020 season. Led them to a state semifinal, I think, or regional final maybe.
No, state semifinal. They lost to Crosby. I think Crosby stopped the 2-point conversion at the end of the game. Classic. I think it was on Texan Live, too. Classic game.
I mean, absolutely remarkable what he did there. And since then, in 4 full seasons at the helm, remember when we would be on the show and that job, he was the interim for 2020, and then they kept that job open suspiciously long, and we were like, are they going to screw this up? They didn't. They hired Kent Walker, and all he did was go 49-14 over 4 seasons.
Took them to a state championship game the next year, 2021. They get to this championship game, lose to Sock. Then they get to back-to-back semifinals in 22 and 23. A little down last year.
Oh, okay. They lost in the second round to Brenham.
They lost to Brenham in the second round,
Yeah.
You called that game.
I did call that game.
You called the last game Kent Walker coached at Liberty Hill.
Wow.
You're the Grim Reaper type.
Okay, yeah. Big poison over here. He goes and takes a job at Blanco.
Correct.
I'll tell it from my point of view. You called me about a week ahead of him getting the job and said, I'm hearing that there might be a really, really big name attached to it, Blanco. And sure enough, I mean, to go and snatch this guy
was right.
This is a huge, huge get for Blanco.
Oh, it's a big get, yeah.
And for Liberty Hill, they're such a singular program because of where they are in the state, the offense that they run. Mm-hmm. This feels pretty seismic for both 5A and for 3A.
Yeah, I think Liberty Hill, just looking at, and I don't think I've actually ever been to the community of Liberty Hill. It's one of those places you got to be going there to get there. It's not so I've never been to Liberty Hill, but just talking to people, this seems like a community that's changing rapidly. It's gone through crazy growth. They just opened up a second high school, and I think even this year, I think the second high school is already starting to impact Liberty Hill, their depth and some of their numbers. So you look at that. There were some things that I'd heard some rumblings that there was talk of maybe the district getting rid of the athletic period, and that you talk about, you want to run off a coach. Talk about getting rid of the athletic period. That will have a coach looking for another job real quick. So I think there were some other things going on, and I just think Coach Walker maybe just felt like Liberty Hill had kind of outgrown him. Like he just kind of wants to be in a smaller community.
Let's put it to you this way, okay? It could be as simple as this. There are guys out there, and we know a lot of coaches that are one school town guys. Okay? Respectfully, one of the greatest to ever do it, Todd Dodge, is a one school town guy, right? He likes like Lovejoy, one school town, right? Southlake, one school town. Westlake, one school town.
Where he's had success.
One
school town,
there are guys who like that.
Yeah. And I think most coaches would prefer, if you asked, if you polled every head coach in the state of Texas, it'd be 95% plus would say they would prefer to coach in a one school ISD.
And that may just be Kent Walker's, preference there.
And Liberty Hill's a two school ISD now.
A two school ISD?
Legacy Ranch is open. They're going to play varsity football in 2026. It's a multi-school ISD now.
The question now is going to be, I think similar to what we had, some concerns we had with, or not concerns, but some thoughts we had with Gunter. They run such a unique offense, that kind of pistol option offense. My guess is Jordan Gill's going to keep that around. He was the offensive coordinator. Feel like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Does Liberty Hill stick with the slot T?
That's a great question. I think the question is going to be, the offensive coordinator there at Liberty Hill, because Kent Walker's a defensive guy. He's a defensive guy by trade. So does he bring his offensive coordinator, Paul Kilby, who has been a head coach before, Canadian, by the way. Shout out Coach Kilby. He's a slot T guy, slot T mafia. Does Coach Kilby go with Walker to Blanco, or does he stay and try to get the Liberty Hill job? And if he doesn't get the Liberty Hill job, then does he go to Blanco? So it's be interesting to see how this goes. If, this is me speaking hypothetically here, if you're Liberty Hill and you want to transition away from the slot T, this is probably the year to do it. You've got a coaching change. You're in a district that is relatively manageable. Bastrop's going to be really good. And Bastrop won the district last year.
Might be talking about them in the sleeper segment here in a little bit.
If you're going to transition, though, this might be a year because you have a manageable by-district matchup. So if you can get into the playoffs, you can have a good chance to get out of the first round. And if you transition and you make the area playoffs, it's not bad. So if you're going to transition, this might be the year to do it. It's going to be a rough transition. When Liberty Hill, there will be a day where Liberty Hill does not run the slot T.
Yeah.
There will be a day that happens.
There's a long enough timeline.
And when that happens, that transition is going to be rough. So if you can mitigate the transition, do it. And so maybe this is the time they do it.
Another place that is going through a coaching change, another big-time coaching change. I would say it was a little bit unexpected, but not necessarily surprising, just considering. But Wimberley. It's come open and
still open.
Doug Warren has retired after a 36-year coaching career, and I know I've said this on this very show before. I think there is a very short list of coaches I would call super underrated, and he is on that list. One of the most consistent, excellent coaches in Texas high school football.
You could pretty much pencil Wimberley into the fourth round minimum just about every year he was there.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they just were dominant in Region 4 and took him to a couple of state title games.
4 other state semifinal appearances. So he made 6 semifinal appearances from 2013 to 2024.
Really good, really heck of a run. His brother won a state championship at Abilene. Great coaching family. Doug's done a heck of a job there at Wimberley and keeping that program. He took over for Weldon Nelms when Coach Nelms left, and kept Wimberley as consistent as ever down there in that part of the state. And this is another one. This job is still open. I'll be very surprised if they go outside.
You think this is an internal hire?
Yeah, now a little weird. It's a little weird it's drug on this long, but to me, the success they've had, they have a guy on staff who's kind of been earmarked as the next guy. Just go ahead and make it official and name him. But it's a little odd. That job, Wimberley opened up, I think it's been at least 3 weeks.
It was October or August 22nd. I had to look.
April 22nd?
April 22nd, rather.
So I had to go see. Yeah, we're getting close to a month. So, but the other thing is I didn't see Wimberley. I don't think it posted on THSCA. So it's kind of curious how it's going there.
Let's close the loop on another, I think, rather... what's the word I'm looking for? Unexpected coaching change, and that's at Mason. At 2A Mason, a perennial power there in Region 4. We talked about Michael McLeod, who, again, got non-renewed. He has since become the defensive coordinator there at Llano. They have gone, and I know you were tracking this job pretty closely. Good list of applicants.
Yeah.
And they land Wade Griffin from Weimar, a guy who usut to be the coach at Georgetown, if I remember correctly.
No, he was at Elgin. He was an assistant at Georgetown.
Elgin, that's right.
Griffin was at Elgin. He was at Fort Worth Brewer for a couple of years. So he's Giddings. He was at Giddings for a few years. There took Giddings to the third. Bounced around. Very good record. He's won everywhere he's been. And I think he did a good job at Weimar. Weimar was 10-3 in 2023, so 7-5 last year. So he's done a good job there. I think Griffin's going to transition Mason a little bit away from what they've been doing offensively. I think you could see more of a power spread type look from Mason. Griffin's another defensive guy, not really married to a system offensively. So, but heck of a coach. The other key thing, when looking, Coach McLeod's wife was a coach on the girls' side. Coach Griffin's wife is a coach, so that helped Coach Griffin. He's like, hey,
we're 2 for 1. We're combo meal.
I'm the second best coach in the family here.
Yeah.
Mrs. Griffin is the real winner here. So good hire from Mason. I think Coach Griffin's going to do a good job. They're getting started late, but I expect Mason, the kind of kids they have, the tradition they have, they're gonna slide in and transition just fine.
Watch this transition.
All right.
So Wade Griffin is the former coach at Elgin. Now also a former coach at Elgin is the new head coach at Woodville.
Yes.
Heath Clausen.
There you go.
Heath Clausen, who did such a great job there at Elgin, goes and takes over a team that made a state championship game last year.
Yeah, Woodville, who was Gunter's opponent in the state championship. So it's all coming back here.
New 3A Division II title game.
Coach Clausen did a heck of a job there. Elgin took him to the area playoffs last year. He goes to Woodville. I think it's going to be really interesting to see if he opens up that offense a little bit with Luke Babin at quarterback returning. I think Coach Clausen is a little bit more of a wide open offensive mind, and so I think you might see Woodville slinging around a little bit more.
Let's talk about Lubbock Monterey. Lubbock Monterey is open. You reported this about a week ago that job had been posted by Lubbock ISD. That means Judd Thrash is out after 3 seasons at the helm.
Sure. Yeah.
He had been in a situation, I know he had been put on administrative leave.
Yeah.
After an incident, I believe an arrest was made.
Yeah.
He was put on administrative leave. We had kind of been running down this story, but then the story kind of falls into your lap whenever Lubbock ISD posts the job. That kind of tells you what's going on.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to reassign Coach Thrash within the district to a different position inside the district, and then obviously that means the job is posted. You can kind of see the tea leaves, kind of the way it was going, because they decided to do spring football while Coach Thrash is on administrative leave. So kind of told me, okay, they're moving forward without Coach Thrash here. They're having spring practice, that kind of thing. So they've got a great coach on staff. Jason Sims, the offensive coordinator. Former Childress head coach,
good guy. Boy, we've been talking. This offseason. There've been a number of guys who have maybe gotten unfortunate deals at their alma mater.
And Coach Sims is a Childress guy, and I think he got a kind of a raw deal when he got let go at Childress. And so he was the offensive coordinator last year at Monterey, did a great job. Monterey had a great year last year. District champs, made the area playoffs, gave Denton Ryan a really good game in round 2. So to me, and Coach Sims has basically been in charge. He's not the interim. They never named an interim head coach, but Coach Sims was in charge of the athletic program while Coach Thrash was on leave. So Coach Sims has been running spring practice. I think this, to me, is a no-brainer. If I'm Lubbock ISD, I don't overthink this. I've got my guy on staff. His record is 147 as a head coach. He's won 100 games. He's lost 47 as a head coach. Seems pretty good.
Yeah. Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
You got the guy there. But Lubbock Monterey is looking for a head coach. Something that I bet will get clipped and shared with him. Is Cody Groves the athletic director of the offseason?
He made a couple of good hires.
Mesquite ISD, we talked about how they go and hire Coach Thomas, Raphael Thomas from Houston Yates to go take over at Mesquite Poteet? No,
Mesquite High.
Mesquite High, thank you. He's at Mesquite High.
And then he hired Terrence Orr at Mesquite Poteet. And now he's gone and hired Pflugerville Weiss head coach Vernon Hughes to be the head coach at Mesquite Horn. Those are 3 pretty heavy-hitting hires there in Mesquite ISD recently. All young guys, a lot of energy, kind of guys who are kid magnets. Coach Hughes was 17-5 in 2 years at Weiss. Weiss was set up to be really good this year. So, Coach Hughes, it took a lot, now he's going to have his work cut out from Horn. Horn's going through some transition right now. They're probably looking at a little bit of a rebuild, but Coach Hughes is a really good coach, a dynamic offensive mind, comes from the Steve Van Meter kind of coaching tree there when he was at Van Meter was at Hutto, and then he went to Weiss with Van Meter. Really good with quarterbacks. I expect Horn to be a high-flying offense, but they might struggle a little bit in year 1 just because of the transition. But Coach Hughes is a good ball coach, so good hire there for Mesquite ISD. I'm
trying to think if there's any other coaching changes that we haven't talked about this offseason that bears talking about.
We'll do one that happened recently. How about El Paso Franklin naming Ruben Torres? Coach Torres, a guy who led Marlin to a state semifinal appearance in 2021, goes back home to El Paso.
This is snip, snap for him. He leaves El Paso to go to Central Texas, and now from whence he came.
Yes, he was the offensive coordinator last year at Garland, Naaman Forest with Jesse Perales, another El Paso guy. So then now he gets the Franklin job. Coach Torres was an assistant at Franklin for a couple of years, so knows the lay of the land. El Paso Franklin is kind of a sleeping giant in El Paso, located on the west side of town, kind of an affluent area. Usually have good size. Their track team was unbelievable this year. They were regional champs, and I think had a couple teams placed in the state track meet in the relays. So big, fast kids. Franklin could be a really good job, and I think Coach Torres is going to do a heck of a job there at Franklin.
You mentioned to me, you said that Franklin was a really hot job out there in El Paso.
To me, it's the best job in El Paso with what they have, the clientele they serve, the location, the mix of kids. They have big kids, they have fast kids. It's a place that could be a really kind of, I think it could, and talking to multiple coaches, they agree it has the potential to be the top job in the Sun City.
You can find all of the coaching changes at texasfootball.com. There have been a couple. How many have there been?
Well over 200.
Well over 200.
220, 221, something like that.
You can find those on Texas.
It'll be more next year. It's a realignment year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So Texas football
keeps me employed.
It's
the only reason I'm here.
That's
coaching
right.
changes. It's the only reason I'm here.
Keep them coming.
Yeah. Only reason I'm here.